Should we all be dating like it's the 1990s? Let me know your initial thoughts of that. What's the first thing that came into your head in the comments? Because I'm always interested to hear what people's initial thought is. So today's episode, I'm going to be exploring whether we should be dating or whether dating in the 1990s was better than dating right now. If you don't know me already, I am Sam Morris. I am an empowered dating coach who has been helping people heal from toxic relationships and rewire their nervous system so that they can find healthy, aligned love for the past 10 years. And if you are someone who falls into that bracket, I have a super cool, super free self-love blueprint, which is the starting point for anyone that is wanting to find healthy love. I will put it down below. So today's episode, I want to talk to you about dating in the 1990s compared to dating now. And full disclosure, I was a child in the 1990s. I wasn't actually dating. So I have taken this information from people that I know that were dating at that time and from the internet. The first kind of big difference is that in the 1990s, everyone met in person. You might have been set up by someone, friends, family, or whatever, but you actually met in person. And so you instantly kind of got a vibe of, do I like this person? Am I attracted to this person? But then you were stuck in a situation where you have to kind of get to know them. It's so different to today's gratification with the dating apps, and it's a swipe, and you get 3 seconds on average to portray yourself in such a way on a photo that makes someone want to know a little bit more about you. 3 seconds, maybe a little bit less if someone has been on the app for a little while. I don't mean like, oh, I've been on the app for 6 months. I mean, they have been swiping on the app for half an hour, because there is evidence to suggest that the more that we look at something, the more that we don't really look at something. So if someone's been on a dating app for half an hour going, they are less likely to see you and less likely to linger on your photo, just because their mind has become really boggled, and similar to just swiping up on social media. So in the 1990s, you actually got to present yourself in a way, and it was more about personality, because although obviously at the initial, am I attracted to this person or am I not attracted to this person, there are a lot of very, very healthy relationships where people have turned around and gone, actually, initially, I thought they were okay looking, but they wasn't someone that I'd have gone for. So that, I would say, is a massive plus. Swiping. I tell all of my clients, get off that app as soon as you possibly can. If you see someone that you like, go and meet them, because you cannot know if you like them for real. Like, they could be super, super good looking and actually can't hold a conversation. Why would you want to be in a relationship with someone like that? So number 2, and I've spoke about this in a previous video, communication styles. So in the 1990s, if you wanted to actively pursue someone, if you wanted to go on a date with them, if you wanted to be in a relationship with them, you had to call their house phone. And I've talked about house phone before, where you literally, you're sat on the phone and you're like on the phone to your friends for 59 minutes, and then obviously you're like, I have to call you back, because you put the phone down and then you can call straight back and it's still free, but if you go over that 60 minutes it starts charging you. Anyone that remembers that, put a yes in the comments so that I know that I'm not that old, and I have some people that also remember that. So there wasn't this whole constant texting. People wrote people letters. No one remember love letters. That was how people communicated. And if someone wanted to actively pursue someone, if someone liked someone, they would have to be really intentional with that and put themselves out there a lot. Nowadays, because it's a constant messaging, if someone doesn't message you back within 10 minutes, you get anxiety about it. Maybe they're just busy. The intention was much better in the 1990s, and not having constant anxiety about dating, I also believe is much better, because that constant anxiety then makes you behave in a certain way. If you are anxious about the way that a person feels about you, then you naturally, and it is a natural response, start to minimize yourself, and you start to accept unacceptable behavior, and that is what anxiety does to you. So my advice, if you are in that dating cycle, is try and communicate on the phone. Just call them. You don't need to constantly be texting each other. That's not healthy, to constantly be texting each other, and it's not realistic, because if this was going to be a healthy relationship, that is presuming that at one point you may live together and you may actually have jobs and friends and lives separate to constantly being like this. It's not realistic to constantly be messaging each other. If you want to talk to someone and you want to get to know them and you want to spend some time with them, just call them. You can tell a lot from someone's voice. You can tell if they're being genuine. You can tell sometimes, like, if they're upset, if they're anxious. So when you message someone and they go, yeah, I'm fine, does that mean that they're actually fine? Whereas on the phone, if you're on the phone to someone and they go, yeah, I'm fine, you instantly know clearly they're not fine. So then you can have a conversation. Takes away the anxiety. So yes, okay. I've already touched on this about effort and intention. You had to be very intentional in the 1990s. If you wanted to be in love with someone, if you wanted to date them, if you wanted to pursue them, you had to be intentional. But also, when the face-to-face communication happened, people valued things like eye contact. Are they looking me directly in the eye? And if they're not, what's that about? I don't think that enough of us, and that is mainly because of, and I'll sound like a hypocrite here because I'm literally on a computer, but because we're so used to the digital age, giving eye contact to people is very difficult, and we don't do it enough. And you can tell a lot from someone's eyes. You can watch pupil dilation, and if you're like a real geek like me, you will watch how people interact based on their eye contact, based on, like, you know, certain people, when they're lying, will look in a certain direction. So, or you can't tell that in today's dating age unless you're face to face with a person. There were fewer choices, and so this could be a plus or a minus. So there were fewer choices. Obviously, towns were smaller, villages were smaller, cities were smaller. You knew less people because you couldn't connect on a digital device. So any of you have children, you will know how easy it is for people from the other side of the world to now talk to you. People that you didn't know. Like, this whole stranger danger thing is on a whole different level now, right? Back in the 1990s, that wasn't a thing. So if you met someone from a different area, the likelihood was it was because you were on a night out from a different area, in a different area, or that person had family or friends that lived where you lived and you happened to meet each other, or they were traveling for work. It wasn't normal for you to just have access to millions of people. which is what we do now. And so, like I said, there are pluses and minuses to this. The plus side is that no longer people don't have to accept unacceptable behaviour, because it's not like, oh, I'm running out of people here in my small village. There's no one left to date. That isn't a thing. And that is a huge plus. The plus is like sky high for that, because you don't have to accept unacceptable behaviour anymore. Yay. The downside is that people get to be too picky. They get to be too choosy. They get to have shiny objects syndrome. That is essentially where you see one nice thing and you're like, oh, that's nice. And then you're like, this other nice thing over here. And you're like, oh, I want that as well. And that's what happens so much with the dating apps, that you're like looking and you're like, oh, they're pretty. Okay, I'm going to look a little bit more about them. I probably should put my phone on. Hold on. I'm going to look a little bit more at this person. Oh yeah, they're interested in the same things as me. They want a serious relationship. Great. Okay. Swipe. And then they go back, even though they've found someone. They're like, that person's nice, I'm going to start a conversation with them. They then go back into the app and they're like, oh, that person's a little bit prettier. Oh, let me check them out. And there's too much choice. And then people, and I have this with some of my clients, they will end up with like several different people that they're like, well, I can't choose between them because they're all pretty. And they all seem nice because I've chatted to them on message. And I'm laughing because I'm like, what? Go meet them. Go see if they're okay. But yeah, shiny object syndrome is a real problem in our society as a whole, but in dating 100%. And this is why a lot of people cheat. And this is why a lot of people think, oh, we're exclusive, and actually they're not. Okay, so I'm having far too much fun with this episode. A huge difference in relationship skills. So in the 1990s, because people had so much human interaction and they didn't really read books about how to do certain things, they definitely didn't watch YouTube tutorials about how to date, how to talk to someone, how to go ask someone out. They just had to get on and do it. And sometimes it meant that they were really unskilled. And sometimes, as we all know, there was a lot of unacceptable behaviours. There still are, but there was a lot more back in the 1990s. But the plus side to that is that people, if they wanted to find love, they had to actually go up to people and say, hi. They had to learn how to communicate with people. They had to learn how to be in a relationship. They had to learn to live together. Practical, actual practice, not, I'm going to read this out of a book and learn. And I'm not saying that you can't learn a lot of things out of books, because I read books all the time. I learn lots of things out of books. But when it comes to human relationships, you do need to practice that, which is why I get all of my clients to go through practice with me. We do a lot of practice, certainly about being assertive. So like having a debate with your partner where it doesn't turn into a screaming match is a skill. It is not something that comes naturally to people, certainly people that grew up in a household where screaming and shouting was the only way. And it is a skill that people need to practice. And I do that with my clients. But so that was definitely a plus and a minus there, because I don't think people practice as much anymore, and they just think that, you know, I have no relationship skills ever, or my ex said to me that the reason that we split up was because every time we had an argument, I was literally screaming at them, and I don't know how to do anything different, but I'm going to go back and try and be in another relationship. That's a problem, because the result is going to be the same. I think it was Einstein that said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the result to be different. So if you do actually want some help with that, download my self-love blueprint, and that will get you onto my email list, and then you can email me and ask me all the questions. One of the big downsides to dating in the 1990s was there was a pressure to settle. It was, you know, you need to accept that this person is like this because you don't want to be alone. You don't want to end up alone. And that is awful, being alone. And there was this whole kind of really bad thing about single parents and all of that. I don't think we have that anymore. I know I do occasionally see on social media, and I am sorry to the men that watch this, because the men that I attract into my world tend to be decent humans. But there are a lot of men that are really cruel and mean on social media. And I say this because I never ever have a woman say anything horrible to me on social media, but I have men say it all the time. And there are a lot of men out there that will completely dismiss single moms. And I don't think that that is good. And I think that that leads to a life of loneliness, especially if you are a man that is over 30. Anyway, there is not this pressure to settle. There are people out there, men, women, that are capable of providing for themselves. They are capable of living alone. They have accepted that if that is my life, that's my life. I'm okay. I'm having fun with it. So this constant pressure to settle isn't there anymore. And that is a huge plus, because people settled, people stayed in relationships for longer than they ever needed to stay in, simply because they didn't think that they could do better. They didn't think they were worth it. And nowadays people absolutely, most people know that they are worth more. And people are more educated about that. There was a very distinct lack of emotions in the 1990s. And I don't just think that that is men. I know traditionally it's always been men don't cry, boys don't cry. Someone said that to my son once and it really made me angry. Anyway, I don't get angry that often, but that one was like a high point for me. I also believe that women were told to minimize their emotions. It's always talked about how men have always traditionally, you know, men don't show emotions, but they do. They just show them in different ways. They are angry. There's a lot of angry men. Instead of crying, which would probably be more productive. If you're upset, cry. Don't go smash things. But women, and my experience of women, certainly like growing up, adult women, it was, you know, you suppress your emotions as well. If your husband cheated on you, you are supposed to not care about it, and you're supposed to hold your head up high, and you're not supposed to cry at the school gates because people will judge you about that. Nowadays, people have all the emotions. You see on social media, people are openly crying, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are upset, if something happened to you that caused you to be upset, you should be allowed to be upset. We have smash rooms now as a thing that people go and pay to do because they acknowledge that they are angry and they need a way to get rid of it. So that is 100% a plus, because if you are wanting to be, and I hear this all the time, I want to be with someone that's emotionally available. Actually, in the 1990s, that wasn't a thing. People didn't care. People didn't talk about it. Like, people probably wanted it. They probably wanted someone that was going to be caring for them, but it was more down to look than actually I'm seeking a partner that wants that. One of the huge downsides in the 1990s, dating in the 1990s, was the gender roles. I don't think that we have those gender roles that much anymore, although I do know some of my female clients really want their men to actually put in an effort. Not at the initial dating stage, but they still want their men, if they're dating someone, if they've been seeing someone for a little while, they still want them to plan stuff, but equally they will plan stuff as well. They don't want to be the only planners. And that part, obviously, in today's society is great, but there isn't the whole, I'm going to clean the whole house and my husband is going to go to work. That doesn't happen anymore. I think that that is a very positive thing. The expectation around planning these big extravagant dates are gone because people are just being themselves. The huge downside, and I don't want to downplay this in any way, of the 1990s was safety. Dating in the 2025, 2026 is for particularly women's safety way up there. Like the bars are nowhere close to each other. And I think that obviously that is positive. That isn't something that anyone wants to go back to. You know, nowadays, the way people keep in contact with each other. I'm going on a date with this person. This is exactly where I'm going. And if I message you this, then I need help. Or there's the Walk Safe app. If you haven't heard of the Walk Safe app and you are a female watching this video, I'll put it down below, because that is really great. It sends an alert to someone, and it's phenomenal, the technology that we have nowadays. In the 1990s, you may have said to your friend, I'm going on a date and this is where I'm going, or I don't even know where I'm going because it's a surprise. I'll call you on your house phone when I get back. And there were a lot of occasions, and as you all know, I've worked in the criminal justice system and I worked there for a long time. There were a lot of cases where there was no phone call at 9 o'clock when they were supposed to get home, but their friend just assumed that, the date's gone really well. Or their friend called the house phone and no one answered, and maybe their friend even called the police, and the police says they've not been missing for 48 hours, so we're not going to take it seriously. And bad things happened. So absolutely, this safety element, I would say, actually outweighs the whole thing, because that is of core importance. And the last thing that I do want to mention is the downside to the 1990s and dating in the 1990s was it was actually a lot easier for people to cheat, because they're not tracked. You know, like nowadays, and I see this on social media all the time, like people posting like, this guy's cheating on his girlfriend. This woman, like I saw this man go to his wife and she was with another man and he tracked her, and yeah, it's quite difficult to cheat now. You have to be very manipulative, and the people that do cheat are hugely manipulative people, and generally there are lots of other very unhealthy behaviours going along with that cheating behaviour. It's not just cheating is the one problem in that relationship. It is they're also controlling, they're also coercive, they're also abusive, because of the characteristic of the person that cheats. Because it's so much harder, and to get away with cheating, someone has to be super clever. They have to remember every lie that they've said. They have to remember to have a different phone, and I'm not here to give anyone any tips, by the way, but you know, they have to be super clever. Back in the 1990s, you could have one person round one night, and then the other night you could have another person round and just not answer your house phone. Hide in the cupboard if someone comes round. It was a lot simpler, is the point. And yeah, so to answer my initial question, should we be dating like we did in the 1990s? And the answer is yes and no. We're not even going to give you a straight answer. There are so many things in the 1990s that were done well. Communication, intention, not having shiny object syndrome. That absolutely is 100% positive. Unacceptable behaviours, safety, that was not good. So if we could try and find a way to merge the two, get rid of the shiny object syndrome. If you find someone attractive, actively seek out even a video call with them as soon as you can to find out if you're actually compatible, because you may not be, even if they look nice. Attraction is very fluid. There are people that are in very, very healthy relationships, and I know I said this earlier, that are with people that initially they didn't think were attractive. Because you can fall in love with someone's personality. You can't fall in love with someone just because they're beautiful. And that is my parting note. If you found this episode useful, click the like button, share it with someone. I would love for this to get out there. And if you've got any thoughts on dating in the 1990s and whether you think I'm right or whether you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Anything that's horrible, I do delete it because I don't need to read that, and nor does anyone else. Always be kind on the internet. Always be kind in general, is my opinion. And if you have got so much time on your hands that you want to spend it writing nasty comments, then you are not for me. Anyway, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next episode. I'm Sam Morris. See you soon.